Hello, my name is Adrian Arroyo,
I'm Alejandro Hurtado.
and the project that we chose is Quadcopters. Alright, so what is a quadcopter? It is a helicopter with 4 rotors and propeller stations. 2 rotors turn clockwise and counterclockwise the other 2. They have rotating propellers. Quadcopters have a lift that is generated by rotors that create rotation on blades which push air in the vertical direction. They use variation of RPM to create torque, lift, thrust, and yaw motions of a helicopter, and quadcopters were primarily built for military use. So history, a little history of the quadcopters. In 1907, the first one was designed. It was called the Brigade Riche gyroplane. It was the first rotary wing aircraft to lift off the ground, and the highest altitude was several feet. A few years later, in 1920, the Omichen No. 2 was created. It had 4 rotors, 8 propellers driven by 1 motor. It had over 1,000 successful flights. It was a very stable aircraft, and the United States Air Force designed the project. 2 years after that was another quadcopter design. It had 6 bladed rotors, X-shaped design, about 100 recorded flights. The highest point was 5 meters, but it was a little bit too complex for the pilot, so it may have caused a little bit of issues. And much years later, 1956, was the Convertali Model A quadcopter. This was the first to demonstrate successful forward flight. Now it had 2 engines that powered 4 rotors, and it was controlled by varied thrust from each rotor. And then last but not least, in 1958, the Curtiss-Wright VZ-7 was created. It was a US Army project. It used varying thrust in rotors and propellers to maneuver, and it paved the way for modern design and development. Here in the timeline, we see the 5 different types of quadcopters that were developed in 1907, ranging through 1958, as mentioned in the previous slide. Possible solution to one-dimensional helicopters, the quadcopter provided that pro. Another pro is that eliminated tail rotor used on helicopters, and the short blades help with the production and the lightweight of the quadcopter. Some cons, though, is that they were very large machines and they needed powerful engines. They were very diverse and complex mechanisms, and they were also very unstable machines.
Purpose. One of the purposes of the quadcopter was primarily for military use. They wanted to use it for surveillance, to record enemy movement, and transportation, which is a movement of goods and small supplies. Commercial and private use was mainly for farming, construction, and medical. Construction, you better survey the land. Medical, disaster relief response. Other uses of the quadcopter were weather drones. They were used to measure lower atmosphere, predict storms. 3D imaging of buildings and landscapes. Ecological and archaeological by water sampling. Fire department used them mainly to see underground fires, building and house fires, and surveying hazardous materials accidents. Future expectations. Some of the future expectations of the quadcopter are autopilot by being fully autonomous and having a centimeter precision RTK GPS. Also computer vision software where the quadcopter takes different images of the land or analyzes terrain and acts accordingly depending on the terrain to move around it. Some pattern recognition, it will stream data back and forth to the user with patterns of the land. Another thing is mission planning. Mission planning is, as you can see in this picture, it uses an autonomous software which transmit data to the user about different points as to where they want to go or what they want to do. Some data delivery, they get real-time data back to the user, and some grippers that are attached to the actual quadcopter where they could grab things and maneuver things around. This is our proposed design. Our proposed design has an air mode. Our quadcopter is going to be able to move in the air as well as in sea. By moving these propellers down and to the side, it creates a forward motion and a down motion for when you're in water, and the regular propellers for a regular quadcopter for air mode just stay intact in a vertical direction, which creates the lift and the forward movement. Thank you. This is our project.